Today on Investigate TV Plus, it's an emotional and physical struggle millions face as they try to build a family. Infertility. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. We explore the heavy toll treatments take on patients' outlook for the future.
Everybody's like, oh, just relax, or it'll come when it's supposed to, or things of that nature. And 4.5 years later, it didn't.
The barriers to treatment couples face and the push to increase access to infertility healthcare across the country.
We want to go to that practice that is thinking outside of the box. I think AI is just one of those ways that we can do that.
Plus, a potential solution for people who face infertility.
There's nothing that's guaranteed when it comes to fertility, and I think that's important to be aware of.
How new technology could increase the odds of getting pregnant.
And sometimes the missing piece.
I bought dozens and dozens of puzzles, and we found a lot of dinosaurs and animals, but not a lot of diverse characters.
Is your own imagination.
I got a pair of scissors and some cardboard and just did what I knew how to do at home.
How this man is showing all children they can reach for the stars. In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
Parenthood, one of life's great challenges and rewards.
But it's a life experience out of reach for many. According to the World Health Organization, 1 in 6 people struggle with infertility. Infertility is the failure to achieve a pregnancy after 12 months or more of regular unprotected intercourse. It affects millions of people and can have devastating emotional, physical, and financial impacts. The WHO says treatments for infertility can include medication, surgery, or assisted conception. But many people lack access to these treatments due to high costs, social stigma, and limited availability.
The organization says its report points to a, quote, urgent need to increase access to affordable, high-quality fertility care for those in need. Starting a family can be an exciting time. But for people like Kristen and Rico Pleasant, it can also be a time filled with emotional and financial strain.
We put off our medical treatment for infertility primarily because of cost initially.
The couple from Monroe, Louisiana was diagnosed with infertility in 2017, and their health insurance doesn't cover treatment.
In us putting our treatment off, I developed uterine fibroids. And I had to have major surgery to correct that.
Kristen has since had multiple unsuccessful rounds of in vitro fertilization. The process involves surgically implanting a fertilized egg into the uterus. In the United States, the American Society for Reproductive Medicine reports the median cost of just a single cycle is close to $20,000. The Pleasants say they've paid more than $150,000 out of pocket.
We've had to deplete savings, we've had to borrow, we've had family donations.
They're not alone in their journey.
Everybody's like, oh, just relax, or it'll come when it's supposed to, or things of that nature. And 4.5 years later, it didn't.
Walisha and Chris Georgie say they never realized growing their family would be so difficult.
Nobody's like, oh, I need IVF. Like, that's something that I need to go through and that I need to save for.
Their insurance helped with cost, but after 3 attempts at artificial insemination and a cycle of IVF, none produced a viable pregnancy.
We've had failures, and they were hard.
The couple from Burlington, Vermont, decided to give IVF one more chance, and this time they got the miracle they'd been waiting for.
It's amazing that as a society that we're able to do this.
Worldwide, since 1978, more than 9 million babies have been born using assisted reproductive technologies like IVF. But treatments are extensive and success rates can vary due to factors like age and health. In a 2019 national report, the Society for Assisted Reproductive Technology found that 55% of women under 35 had a live birth after one IVF cycle. For women over 42, that number is just 4%.
Infertility is a medical disease.
Dr. Jennifer Brown of Northeastern Reproductive Medicine in Vermont says multiple treatments can help, but the long and uncertain road can take its toll.
It's not an optional thing that these individuals want to going through treatment to conceive. This is to build their families, and Psychologically, a diagnosis of infertility is so significant in the way it affects the vision of your life that it's equivalent psychological stress to having a diagnosis of cancer in some studies. What we need to do is help them and have less barriers to treatment.
Barriers like cost, which can put life-changing assistance like IVF out of reach. Fertility services are not covered under many insurance plans, and according to a recent Lending Tree survey of more than 2,000 people, 12% said they wanted help but couldn't afford it.
Solutions for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of infertility remain underfunded and inaccessible to many due to high costs and limited availability. WHO is calling for universal access to affordable, high-quality fertility care.
At least 21 states have passed fertility insurance coverage laws, 14 including IVF, according to Resolve, the National Infertility Association. But most plans that are provided by small employers or self-funded are exempt.
To leave us with this cost, to not have anyone to assist us in this, is just not right.
In Louisiana, where IVF coverage isn't required, the Pleasants have been working with Representative Paula Davis to change that.
To hear these stories and the struggles, it really just, it tears your heart apart.
Davis introduced legislation in 2022 that was deferred based on cost, but she says she will continue to fight.
It has touched my heart in such a way that I am just so happy to hopefully be the champion for this.
Back in Vermont, where lawmakers are also working on mandate coverage for treatments like IVF, Walisha Georgie says she knows how lucky she is to be a success story.
It's okay to be fearful. It's okay to feel your emotions. It's okay to not know if this is going to work.
Sharing powerful words of hope for families like the Pleasants.
Rainbows do come even after the thunderstorms, after the tornadoes, after the hurricanes. They do come.
Who continue to push despite all obstacles.
Because I'm fighting to bring my children into this world. And there's no price that you can put on that.
For additional resources on infertility, visit the National Infertility Association's website at resolve.org. Meanwhile, for people struggling with infertility, a potential solution that doctors say is already working.
We now employ artificial intelligence with robotics in the lab in order to give us improved embryo quality.
After the break, doctors using AI to give people hopes for their futures.
It just helps to give me another option.
Plus, she joined a fitness app to get in shape, but it only left her broke.
They said it would cost $3,800 to get this package, to have it shipped. So I paid that.
We share the story of a woman caught in a six-figure scam and tell you how to avoid a similar fate.
Everybody's like, oh, just relax, or it'll come when it's supposed to, or things of that nature. And 4.5 years later, it didn't.
Millions of Americans struggle with infertility, the inability to conceive a baby. But now, a potential solution an Atlanta doctor says is already working.
Carly Barnett shows us this futuristic approach to help people become parents.
It just helps to give me another option.
Charis Chambers is in the process of planning her fall wedding, but she's also planning ahead for their future family by freezing her eggs through IVF or in vitro fertilization.
We want to go to that practice that is thinking outside of the box. I think AI is just one of those ways that we can do that.
So she sought out Dr. Corinne Frew.
We now employ artificial intelligence with robotics in the lab in order to give us improved embryo quality.
She says they're using innovation to combat infertility.
If you can select the best sperm to then inject into each mature egg, that equals higher fertilization rates.
To do that, they use this robot.
It marks and tracks each sperm as it is moving throughout the sample. Your eyes do not have to do the work so that you're chasing down the sperm. Nope, the work's already automated and done for you.
Dr. Frew says it does not replace an embryologist, but it's a tool to help them do their job.
We think that this is the next thing that needs to happen, and the more efficiencies we can build into the system, the better. If we can get patients pregnant in fewer cycles, that is the goal.
There's nothing that's guaranteed when it comes to fertility, and I think that's important to be aware of, but at the very least, it's like, I know I did what I could.
Artificial intelligence is also improving something as simple as a doctor's visit.
That's really where I think healthcare providers are going to first notice the benefits with artificial intelligence is sort of decreasing that burden to free up time both for patient encounters but also spending time with family or outside the hospital care.
Dr. Ricky Cigaroa is a cardiologist in Laredo, Texas. He says physicians are using AI to accomplish tasks that would normally take doctors hours to do themselves, like charting, dictating, and documenting notes for hundreds of patients.
In some cases, it can actually listen to the conversation and from a free-flowing conversation like what we're having now, can actually sort of create a structured note, which previously was very hard for computers to do.
Dr. Cigaroa says AI can also help with data management. It can sift through thousands of studies in a few moments and return treatment options, keeping doctors up to date on the latest advancements.
Still ahead, these puzzles showing kids how to love themselves.
I thought, well, we can add a layer of learning to that. We can add a layer of affirmation and ethnic identity.
And one another.
Everyone comes from a lot of different cultures and places.
How this father is drawing inspiration from his own children.
Plus, you can join a fitness app to help break a sweat, but scammers are leaving unsuspecting users broke and scared.
When I finally said no more, then he threatened that he was gonna, have my family killed.
The red flags you need to know to protect yourself. Fitness apps allow users to connect and encourage each other to reach their goals.
But the social aspect of these apps have caught the attention of scammers, in this case, looking to turn a virtual gym partner into profit. According to the FTC, scams that started on social media cost consumers $1.2 billion in 2022 alone.
Holly Thompson introduces us to a Tennessee woman now tens of thousands of dollars in debt, plus how you can spot the red flags of this social scam.
It started as messages of encouragement on the Fitbit app.
Fitbit puts that badge on the app, on the site, and people can like it, very much similar to Facebook.
This mid-state woman, who does not want to be identified, says a friendship formed with one user. When their conversations moved to a different messaging platform, he had a unique request. The man told her he was working a job overseas and asked if she could accept a package containing several $100,000.
He begged and said, please, I don't have anyone else.
He then connected her to a third party he called the company, and that's when she says the money requests began.
They said it would cost $3,800 to get this package, to have it shipped. So I paid that.
Then another request for money, and another, and another.
When I finally said no more, then he threatened that he was gonna, have my family killed.
The woman says she attempted to block the person multiple times, but the threatening messages continued. This text message said, "I will do anything within my power to gun you and your family down."
How frightened are you at this point?
It really is scary. It really was very scary.
Experts told her the user was able to trick her into downloading malware onto her computer.
He can track her keystrokes when she's typing in passwords. He really has full access now to everything about her.
She says the harassment continued for 3 years, ultimately costing her about $100,000, and it now has the attention of the FBI.
We reached out to Fitbit to see what security measures they have in place to protect users from bad actors. Fitbit representatives told me they have several security procedures, including multi-factor authentication, continuous security monitoring, and recommendations for their users on privacy settings and password management. In Nashville, I'm Holly Thompson.
Straight from the Better Business Bureau, here are some major signs that someone you're speaking to online is trying to scam you out of money. First, they move fast and ask personal questions quickly. Second, they typically have some sad scenario where they need help. They often have specific instructions for financial help and often ask you to wire money or use a prepaid debit card. Finally, they ask to communicate differently. The BBB says as the scammer develops a relationship, they will ask for another way to contact you or connect. When it comes to meeting people online, here's the overall message from experts.
It's so important when you start to build any kind of new connection that you share that with others, because chances are their radar is going to go up. But the other thing is as soon as your radar starts to go up, report it immediately.
Still ahead on InvestigateTV Plus, teaching kids to embrace their true colors.
It's good to just accept that they're different, and it's good to be different.
How something as simple as a puzzle can help empower the next generation.
I'm Viv Williams with a medical mythbuster moment. Myth: if you swallow gum, it will stay in your stomach for 7 years. That is not true. Duke University gastroenterologist Dr. Nancy McGreal blogged about this and says your body doesn't have the enzymes to digest gum. So on average, it passes through your digestive system in about 3 days. Same goes for other insoluble items like popcorn kernels or fiber in raw veggies. But there is a danger. Big wads of gum can get stuck in your esophagus, especially in kids. So it's still advisable to avoid swallowing gum. And remember, don't give it to kids under age 4. With this medical mythbuster, I'm Viv Williams.
Puzzles. They're an engaging, inexpensive mental exercise for a relaxing day in. All reasons they exploded in popularity during the pandemic. According to online journal JSTOR Daily, puzzle makers saw sales increase up to 400% shortly after the first lockdown orders. Studies show puzzles are also good for your brain. In 2018, a German university found jigsaw puzzles improve cognition and problem-solving skills.
A Washington, D.C. area man saw a problem with the puzzles he wanted to buy for his children, so he decided to fix it. Deborah Alfarone shows us how he's now inspiring kids across the country.
So the classic stereotype is when you see African American, especially boys, is see them in sports and entertainment. So we want those kids to imagine themselves as other things, but we also want the community of people that support those young people to imagine them as something else. To think of him as a future doctor just as quickly as you might think of him to be a future basketball player.
One day, while playing with his children, Matthew Goins could no longer ignore a missing piece.
I bought dozens and dozens of puzzles, and we found a lot of dinosaurs and animals and trains and cars and airplanes, but not a lot of diverse characters. It was just trying to create a fix for my kids in our own living room. I got a pair of scissors and some cardboard and just did what I knew how to do at home. And then I decided that this was worth sharing with other people.
In 2018, Puzzle Huddle was born. It took off, fueled by a nod from Oprah, the pandemic puzzle boom, and a sharpened focus on inclusion.
Why is it important for kids to see themselves?
All you need is small inspirations, I think, can inspire a kid over a lifetime. And when you watch a kid do a puzzle, to some degree, you can watch their brain working. There's some subtle opportunity for them to believe of themselves in the image, like a subconscious interaction that can really embed a message in the kids.
You can't be what you can't see.
Absolutely.
5 years later, Goins' company sells dozens of types of puzzles, featuring multicultural characters, empowering future black and brown ballerinas, scientists, astronauts, and presidents. And now they're expanding.
Anytime, we could just go in his office, find the coloring sheets, take one out, and start coloring.
You guys are pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coloring books and downloadable coloring sheets are inspired by Goins' wife, Marnell, who often colors with their children, 10-year-old Mackenzie, 8-year-old Mitt, and 5-year-old Caleb.
She would go online and just find coloring sheets and print out unicorns and dragons. But as I was observing that, I thought, well, we can add a layer of learning to that. We can add a layer of affirmation and ethnic identity. So I just started to imagine the coloring sheets that I wanted my kids to have.
Everyone in this family shapes the mission in big ways and small. Mackenzie's artwork is featured in this artist puzzle, and all 3 kids are challenging their dad's idea of diversity.
So their friends are Vietnamese and Lebanese and South Korean and Caribbean and African. And so a lot of times they challenge me on the representation that I have in our puzzles to reflect their friendship circle.
Everyone comes from a lot of different cultures and places, so it's good to just accept that they're different, and it's good to be different.
The result? This puzzle, Diversity Love. Now, big companies have come calling. Macy's, Target, and most recently, Netflix, to create puzzles based on their Ada Twist animation series. But Goins says his mission will be accomplished when one particular goal comes into focus.
My dream come true will be to one day meet a doctor, scientist, engineer, pilot, astronaut 20 years from now, and them to tell me that when they were a kid, they had our coloring books and they had our puzzles. It inspired them, played a role in their thinking, and it eventually translated into them becoming a doctor one day.
So I know which one I want. I want the president with the Afro puffs. So cute. I'll have to bring that one home.
It's such a great message because if you can't see it, oftentimes you don't think it's real. Possible. It can actually be possible. It can happen, and it can happen for sure.
Great puzzles.
Yes.
Well, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Tisha Powell.
And I'm Lee Zurich. Thanks for watching.
On the next Investigate TV Plus, a health crisis for Black women.
When we think about these statistics, they translate into actual people.
We examine the factors behind a soaring maternal mortality rate and the effort on Capitol Hill to save mothers and babies.